and welcome. Today we are gathered here with a specific purpose in mind. We want to understand what's happening in the real estate industry, what's happening in the real estate market, and how can we revive it out of its blues. Sales down to a trickle, inventory that is mounting across India, and crippling construction delays. All of this has made the potential home buyer rethink his property purchase. How can we bring him back to the market? Today we're discussing being innovative in a slack market. What is the developer's take on reinventing themselves? Let me welcome my panel of speakers today. Abhishek Lodha, Managing Director, Lodha Group. Ashwinder Raj Singh, CEO, Residential Services, JLL India. Ashish Shah, COO, Radius Developers. Rajiv Piramal, Managing Director and Vice Chairman, Peninsula Land. And Vikram Goyal, CEO, HDFC Realty. Abhishek, I want to come to you first. Your company seems to have survived the downturn pretty gracefully. Your sales have been pretty decent. What is it that you're doing differently today?
The focus of our organization has been largely around quality and delivery, and making sure that we focus on marketing it well to our consumers. So we've stayed centered to one geography, largely around Mumbai, and have stayed largely focused on residential with some amount of office space, and really built, in our opinion, a strong professional team which can really make sure that the very difficult supply chain of real estate across various skill sets can be delivered well. We think it's a specialization business, and our belief is that consumers continue buying with us, and we've done decently well on account of the fact that they see us as focused and specialized on delivering what we promised to them.
Okay. Ashwinder, what kind of a developer can survive this depressed market?
See, I think the most important thing is that we need to continue to focus on the customer. It is very important to figure out what is the customer wants, because the requirements of customers in the last 4 or 5 years have been continuously changing, and I think they will continuously evolve. And how do you then fulfill those demands that a client or a customer has? If you really look at it today, 7 out of 10 clients initiate their buying behavior on the internet. So one of the important things is that, we will all have to really focus on how do we go digital, and how do we make our digital strategy differentiating so that the strategy helps us to reach the customer who's looking out for a house. Because doing sales in these markets have become, some people say it has become tough. I say it has changed. It is not the same way you could sell a house 5 years back. So the buying cycle has changed. People take more time. The other thing is that, our developers and the entire fraternity needs to understand that we need to constantly engage with the customer. So a customer who comes to see a site today might not necessarily buy that apartment in the same month. But it does not mean that if he has not bought it in the same month, he's not going to buy it ever. And what happens, I have seen players who have constantly engaged with the clients on a regular basis, and once that customer, decides to buy, say after 12 months, the customer remembers who's the person who's been engaging with him, who's the right advisor, and that's when the deal happens. So I think there are a couple of things that need to be done in these markets differently.
Okay. Ashish, you represent the new breed of developer today. You earlier said that you're focusing on a very, select, marketing strategy. Is digital a big part of your game? Like Ashwinder said, it's important to get the information out to the buyer today.
Absolutely. I think in today's day and age, you have to have a serious go-to-market plan on the digital platform. I think there is no two words about it. For Radius Developers, which is basically an outcome of the succession plan with Vadhva Group, the team that we inherited was extremely strong in office space. And office space requires fairly long lead time, deeper engagement with customers who are doing buying on behalf of the organization. That has ingrained a lot of things, and those lessons are fairly replicable and into our DNA of our newly formed team of investing a lot more time in understanding what the customer wants and not trying to, rattle on what are the 3 things the product does best and what have you. So I think it's, yes, digital world will let people know about you, but proof of the pudding lies is how well do you know your customers? How confident are you of your own business model? How much money you are going to make? How quickly you're going to deliver? And just because another competition changes its price, do you really need to reflect it, or you need to showcase your offering a little better, engage with folks like Smart a little bit better. So we're taking slightly different view on this, of saying, we need to go through the value chain and invest mind time on all of these. So yes, digital world is a great source, and I think everyone agrees that there's no more debate on this.
Okay, Rajiv, do you feel the need to reinvent yourself now, the way you're doing business?
Earlier, a customer or a buyer would be dependent on a broker or an institution, maybe a one-stop shop to recommend something for them. Today, while they can go to the brick and mortar player as well, online, digital access, etc., has completely changed the way their knowledge is and how they approach buying as well. So I think that the industry has completely changed, and as Peninsula, we have also had to adapt and change to that. And I think that we're in the process of doing that. And I think that it's an ongoing process where it's a complete package now you need to have. So you need to be on the ball as far as your execution and delivery of your projects is concerned. But in addition to that, you need to meet your customers' needs much more quickly, much more sensitively, and be much more responsive to what maybe you needed to be some time ago. So I think it's an ongoing process. It's an exciting time in one way, because a lot of disruptive technologies are coming into the market and the way you're doing things are changing. But of course, on the other hand, given the overall sentiment, given the supply situation, it's a difficult market as well.
If you look at the home loan numbers, the sanction undisbursed data, I'm getting some numbers in here, used to be about 30% of the total loan portfolio of the new loans till about a couple of years back. That has gone up to about 35-40%, which means that there are people who are wanting to buy houses, but they're not able to conclude a transaction. Now, why they're not able to conclude a transaction, apart from what everybody has mentioned, is I think also because the customer is more aware today. At the same time, because he's more aware, he's more demanding, and he knows that he can demand today because the market is in a demand-supply mismatch situation. And he also has some worries and scares because he's seen certain projects which have taken more than usual time. So if you are a developer who's focusing on construction, if you are a developer who's focused on delivery all your while, if your site management is done professionally, I think all these things today create a brand or a comfort which then a customer sort of takes into account before he makes a purchase. So I think it's an amalgamation of all these things.
We spoke about, rethinking, remodeling the product that developers are today offering. Would you say we need to bring about some kind of innovation in the product?
I think product innovation is clearly a very important part of how one keeps refreshing oneself and going to the market with the right kind of things which people would demand. There's a certain part of the market which wants the tightest possible home, so yes, you'd look at optimizing on the square footage. There is a lot of people who are end users who are actually looking for the right kind of sizing. They want more space inside their apartments and not outside in decks or balconies. They want to make sure that the kitchen is properly sized. They want to make sure they have a puja area, utility area, so on and so forth. So really understanding the consumer and making sure we give each different consumer segment what they want is important. There are consumers who really want today to have very high-end interior finishes. They want the designs to best across the world. They want to pay a lot for amenities. So different consumer segments have different needs, and buyers and developers have to understand each segment. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to this.
Bulk of the demand comes from the middle-income buyer. What about them? Will you resize your product for them?
I think Bombay apartment sizes are already quite tight. And I think middle-income buyers are looking for a combination of the right unit value, so they want tighter square footage. But I think equally what they want today is an upgradation of their family's lifestyle and well-being. So they want good support facilities, healthcare, education. They want good sports and other facilities. They want security. They want a society where they live with like-minded people. So I don't think that if one was to make the smallest possible apartment or tightest possible apartment, that is the surefire way of succeeding in this marketplace. I think everything has to come together, including the right size of the apartment.
channel partners are depending on developers. The developers have to ultimately give all the products to our consumers. And obviously, if the consumer-developer relationship is better, channel partner always benefits out of it. So we also expect the policymakers to make it absolutely liberal and also logical for the developers to do the construction in time and also ensure that the markets are not disrupted.
I think the biggest thing what Realtor could dream of is licensing of Realtor, which coming of RERA and recognizing now Realtor as a part of that RERA, I think the next logical step should be the licensing of Realtors and getting these things more organized so that customers, developers and the entire gamut of industry trust the Realtors who are organized, who are reliable, who are reputed, who are associated and affiliated with the organizations like National Association of Realtors as well as SMART.
Do you think in a developer's marketing for a project, the message has to be rewritten? Because of course the buyer wants to know the project is this, has these specifications. He also wants to know if the project will be delivered on time. This is the track record of this builder. He has all these approvals in place. So we need to bridge that whole transparency factor which does not exist right now.
A lot of things like your saleable areas, how you calculate that, where projects are. Because people have been burnt in the past due to a lack of information and lack of knowledge in the past, I definitely think that transparency is something that is going to be increasingly important. It should be important any which way, and it's always prioritized. But rather than actually only giving it lip service, developers are actually going to have to deliver these things. And it's already happening. It's not that it's not happening. Developers are much more transparent now in terms of where the approvals are, where the process. And I think that it's about communication.
How important will this factor be in reviving the sector? Can sales be revived if we bring all the information out to the buyer, make him believe that this project is a sound investment?
What is very important in terms of when we are talking to a customer in terms, what my project is, we need a regulator, but it might just take some time. There are a lot of discussion happening on that front. So if that comes, of course, things will change. But what are people doing right now, and what do customers tell us when they speak to us? They really need to know who are the people who've approved the home loan. And I think almost every developer today does mention home loan approvals whenever they're talking about a project anywhere. It's part of their brochure, it's part of their advertisement. I think that could be played a little more and might just help. They also need to understand which are the financial institutions which have given them construction finance. Some of them are also very, very aware, especially in the metros, who also understand that there's a private equity which probably must have gone in this project. And these institutions, the home loan guy, the construction finance guy, the private equity guy, probably would have done their due diligence. So I think beyond the facade and the layout and the amenities, if we also mention this as one of our marketing tools, this in a way might just play in the customer's mind, giving him a lot of assurance that, listen, I don't know much, but I'm sure these financial institutions know what they're doing, so let me go ahead and buy it.
How are you reinventing yourself in terms of your customer engagement?
It's so critical, and it's now become an entry stage gate for you to qualify. And each and every one of these guys here are sharp cookies. Okay, so they know what questions to ask. What we've done is, whenever we are about to launch something, introduce new to the market, we introduce with the, not only just the channel partner kit, but also a titled CD, the approvals which has it, and now we've gone on to a Dropbox and, request them to just look it up. So, that's again fairly proactive. We've also had conversations with clients who are just curious about the project, understand the amenities and all that stuff, and then there is always a question on where are you on permission. Earlier, we used to just say and they used to believe, and right now we've just far more authentic, having a solid file on table and gives them super comfort. We have offices in Singapore and Dubai. Even those offices are equipped with some of these approvals, hard copies. These are symbolic, but it gives super comfort to people who are still testing waters, because the tide is not yet fully turned. That the sentiment is there to just take the real estate by dollops. So really, we have to reach out to customers. We have to educate channel partners and be frank about it. If you think that this permission is going to take 3 months, we tell the client 6 months. and then let him or her take a call. So, do you have the courage of letting the business go? Finally the question has reached that stage.
One of the things all of us need to do is to undercommit and overdeliver. The greed of doing more by saying more, that era is over. It's about doing more and saying less. And that is why we have seen that players who have certain ethos, if you have certain guidelines, if you have a process of acquiring customers, if you have compliance guidelines, if you have due diligence guidelines, and when the end consumer sees the process, you generate trust. And that is where the inquiries start coming in. So somewhere all of us as a fraternity will have to learn from our own mistakes that all of us have done and really come across as transparent in the way we do things.
Okay, so primary market saturated, investors have exited, sales not happening. Why not tap other geographies, go to tier 2, tier 3 cities? Are you seeing demand there, Vikram?
In fact, there are some developers whom we are working with today, and we're taking them to a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I'll give you an example of what was happening 4 or 5 years back. So 4 or 5 years back, we'll have certain developers coming to us talking about second houses and third houses. It could be Goa, it could be Lonavala, it could be Khandala, and trying to sell those properties to investors in Delhi, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, because these are aggressive investors, typically in the north. That has changed now. The investors any which ways are not there in the market, or there are few of them who are there, but the actual users are there today. So now we have more people who are coming from Pune saying, I'm an education hub, and I have a lot of kids who come to me from north for education, and their parents want to invest there, or these kids will graduate eventually, and thus they would start working here. Thus Pune is a good destination for Delhi to invest. Now, something like this was not discussed 4 years back. Right, 4 years back, what we discussed was, Ludhiana has a lot of money, let's go take a Goa project and sell them a villa worth 5 crores. Today, you're talking about a 2-bedroom, 50 lakh rupees in Pune because there's a real demand for that. So I think, which is where we have been advising a lot of developers, that much beyond your area of operation, or what you call the host city, one has to look out. It could be other metro cities, but it could also be smaller locations, which, for example, Pune has always strived upon. So they always go to the sugar belt, which is the Sataras and Sanglis and the Kolhapurs, and they always get sales from there. So I think there is a lot of demand within India, within certain markets, where we can cross-sell our product, and that can really, really be explored.
I think everyone in this room agrees that this is the best time to purchase real estate. Developers are there round the corner. We are being at our nicest best to each one of you. And, this is the best time to get those clients.
And Rajiv, your take?
Yeah, I don't know how I can follow that, but the customer is the king. We must, as an industry, obey those orders, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay, so time to reimagine and redefine the real estate business. As Rajiv just said, customer is the king, and we need to change business strategies to cater to them. With that, we wrap up this discussion. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is the right time to buy. We can't expect the price to go down because the cost is rising. When the cost rises, price never come down. So whatever price you are getting the deal, you should go on and close. October, November, December, Jan, Feb and March, these are the 6 festive seasons where the people go on buying. Starting from Dussehra, I think so, whichever pre-launches or a launch of our reputed developers come into your way, go ahead and book your property.
We have to think about one person whose name is Narendra Modi. He is the person who is be the change.
Be the change. This is something that Mahatma Gandhi had said. He said, be the change that you want to see.
The real estate regulatory bill is coming, wherein you are also one of the stakeholders.
The real estate broking community or channel partners or any other name that we use are really the arteries and the veins of the real estate industry.
But जब दिल की भाषा करना है, तो माँ की भाषा अच्छी रहती है.